My name is Boris Salchow. We are today at Remote Control Productions, and I'm sitting at the famous desk of Hans Zimmer. The reason we are here is we are releasing the fourth title in our Symphonic Elements series. This one is called Perks. And I wanted to show you how you can now use all 4 plugins and score a whole scene with it. I'll give you a little breakdown on how I did that. So let's take a look. Let's listen to this short intro section here. I'm using just 3 elements here. One is I'm using this drums preset here called Closing In, which just does the big, massive drums. And then I'm using 2 instances of strings. One is this atmosphere preset called Resonating Space. It's a little spooky, sci-fi-ish. And then, so it's not getting too technically cold, I am actually playing some very traditional sustained strings on top that give it a little bit of a warmth and also a cinematic feel. Just to give it some warmth, so it's not getting too, technically cold. So that's setting the tone. Let's listen to it and then continue to the next section. So here's a couple of things happening. So there's some urgency suddenly coming in. We understand that's our main character. He looks like he's in a race, getting ready, preparing for it. So this is also the first entrance of our new Perks plugin with a very minimal but important aspect of it. It's playing a clock-like sound that just creates this urgency, telling you you're running out of time. Click sound, something that you hear very often in big scores. If you want to keep things in motion or keep the urgency on or telling you like you're running out of time. Then at the same time, we are playing a drums sound. That's a cool example for like a sound designy percussion that you can play with drums, but then the real strength is usually if you put these together. They really complement each other well. Then down here, we're using some brass plugins, but not in the way you would think. We're actually using pads that we created out of this brass sound. It's really crazy to think that underneath you have these massive brasses, and then we're able to create these soft, slightly weird pads out of it. Then we are playing a dark atmosphere, also based on the brass sounds. So also not a typical brass sound, right? But we are in a sci-fi movie here, so you hear a lot of stuff that has been mangled and processed. Underneath, the strings are continuing their sustain. And let's move to the next section. So there's more and more percussion coming in, mainly actually by Perks. together with a metronome clicks. Then some accents from drums. So drums and perks together. I keep repeating, but those two are just like such a great pair. All right, that's this section. And now let's move on to the next one. We're picking up here the ramp into the next section, which will be the race. Okay, now it's getting more actiony. One is Brutal Hitter from Perks. Then a preset called Action Drums from Drums. Just setting these big accents and together. Meanwhile, as this is going on, now brass and strings are getting to work as well. We are pulling out all the stops here with brass playing some Brahms sounds. And we're actually doubling that with Brahms that strings are playing. And together they're creating this wall of sound. So we're playing these together. Which is really nice because they each cover slightly different areas of the spectrum, and together it's just like great. Then we have here coming in a ostinato sound, a low spiccato sound from strings that I mangled a little bit because we're in the sci-fi world. So that's playing on top of everything else. You can see here actually that you can have the bass play something different than the top. So that's how I create this dissonance. Usually we're staying away from dissonances, but when you heard closely, there's this half-tone step in there. That's how I create it. So let's listen to the end of this part and then go to the next section. All right, the percussion more or less keeps going. We're adding one last, like a fourth perks instance here. To the other percussion, it adds this extra level of nervousness. Now all drums and percussion together sounds like this. Towards the end and this cliffhanger situation, I'm adding a little more tonal elements. Here is a brass that actually sounds like a brass because now we want this heroic moment. And the strings are adding their part. So this is just adding chords, and here is something special. I'm using a strings sound. And I use the finisher here, where I chose a preset called Rip Apart, and that's really what it does. It rips apart the sound. And I wrote a little automation here on that last stretch so that it cranks up that ripping apart. All right, that's it. That concludes our little show and tell. I hope you enjoyed it. This was also to show you that with symphonic elements, you're getting this Hollywood sound instantly. And you actually don't need to know much about music theory. Play some chords, trust your guts, and have fun with it.